One thing to be clear is that this is being provided for information. It's not recommended that anyone build a jointer, homemade jointer. These are dangerous machines. You would have to proceed at your own risk. Okay, this is my homemade jointer. It's a 13-inch jointer based on a DeWalt 735 cutter head. I'm going to show it in operation, and then we'll come back and do a walk around. Obviously, it's going to take more than one pass to get this board flat, but as you can see, it does a pretty nice job. This is what it looks like. There's a rough cut. This is a piece of lumber that I milled myself. It's red oak. It's going to take several passes to get it flat. But the goal of this jointer is actually really to get one side flat so that I can run it through my planers to establish the thickness I want of the board. So now we'll stop the video here and do a walk around. Okay, this is the walk around of the jointer. So basically the jointer consists of a frame. As you can see, the frame is oak. And then the infeed and the outfeed tables. This is the infeed table. The infeed table is, this is shelving material bought at Home Depot. Melamine, I guess it is, and it's on top of a MDF sheet that I got from the Habitat for Humanity Reuse It store, and it's sitting on top of some adjustable bolts that gives me the ability to adjust the table up or down. So my goal, or my approach, is to keep this jointer as simple as possible. So the infeed table is set to reduce 1/16 of an inch. The outfeed table, also a melamine table on top of MDF and on top of some cherry. It's fixed. It's set so that the 1/16 of an inch is all that's removed. It's fixed. That suits me. That's kind of the way that I used the previous jointer, which was an old 6-inch Sears Craftsman short bed. So my goal here for the jointer build was that it would be something that was simple. It'd have to be made out of wood because I don't have any metalworking skills or tools. I figured that I didn't need that the fence would be adjustable. I never ever adjusted the fence. It needed to be wide, so that's why it's 13-inch, because I've been milling my own lumber. This is a piece of red oak that I milled myself. It's on the small end. I've got some oak slabs out in my lumber yard that are quite wide, so I needed some way to work them. The motor is a 220 3 horsepower clockwise rotating shaft, which is very important. This cutter head has to rotate in a clockwise direction. That means this way. Okay, so that's why I have the 220 horsepower. I had a hard time finding a 110 horsepower, 110 volt motor that would rotate in a clockwise rotation. Most of them, at least the only ones I could find, were counterclockwise, and that is absolutely no good. There aren't very many parts in it, so you've got the motor assembly. You can see it's hanging on a hinged board. with an old spring that gives it tension, more tension, but the actual weight of that motor is pretty heavy. That's a Dorman power steering pulley, automotive pulley, 5/8 inch shaft. That is a alternator pulley. Both of these are then auto parts placed, but this pulley, that's a 5.5 inch pulley to about a 2 1/8 inch pulley. The motor rotates at 3480 RPM, so that gives you, that ratio gives me about a 9,000 RPM cutter head speed, which is what the cutter head rotated at when it was in the DeWalt planer. It's a 3-knife DeWalt planer. I got off at eBay. You know, a lot of people buy DeWalt planers and then they upgrade them with helical head cutters. So that makes these cutter head assemblies available, and that's how I got it. So the two most expensive parts of this whole build actually are the motor and the cutter head assembly. If you take those parts, cost of those parts out of the equation, this build was very inexpensive. I made my own motor mounts. They're made out of oak, but at a suggestion from someone, I've reinforced them with metal, both top and bottom, just to give it more strength. I guess if I were to do it again, I may try to make them out of metal, or at least aluminum, but again, I have not really a lot of skill in metalworking. A lot of the, I guess a lot of the inspiration for this came from, well, the inspiration came from the fact that I had a need. I had to do something. And the, I guess the ideas and things like that I got from studying literature about Powermatic long bed joiners, Grizzly long bed joiners. I studied the specs on them. And also a YouTuber called CNC Woodworker built a jointer, a very elegant one. And then there's Matthias Wandel, John Hayes, Cosmos Bauer. A lot of people have built jointers. So a lot of them were inspiration that I used, you know, in my own build here. But this is strictly my own interpretation because it's, you know, has to be built in to what I can do and then fit my shop. So I'm not finished. I'm going to enclose the panels here on the back. This will probably stay open, this area here where the motor is, but I'll eventually put a dust collector, and then I will use my shop vacs, probably 2 of them harnessed, to collect the dust. Right now I'm just letting it fall where it may, and then I clean it up at the end of the work period. The paddle switch came from Amazon. The wood parts for this are just already available in the shop. I went through this, I had a design, I went through it several times, so this was iterated several times. So it's not pretty. It is the somewhat result of trial and error, a lot of error, but it is working, and I intend to use it and learn from it. And this may be the source or the inspiration for version 2. So my initials are TJ. So this is TJ1, and maybe in a year or so there'll be a TJ2 based on what I've learned about this, but I fully intend to use this to make furniture. It's definitely a step above what I had before. I hope this is helpful and at least entertaining to you, for you. I want to add that there are a couple things that are unfinished. One is a belt guard that's in work. Hopefully I'll get to it this weekend. I plan to have some sort of a cutter guard and a fence. I plan to have a fence. And also I'm going to work on dust collection, pretty simple dust collection. And over time I'm going to enclose the ends, keep the middle open, enclose the ends and use that for storage and whatnot. One thing I also want to point out is that you can see the leveling feet. They are hockey pucks. You can get a big bag of them for a reasonable price. You drill a hole from the bottom, insert a carriage bolt, a washer, a carriage bolt, and then on top a carriage bolt and a nut, and you've got yourself a pretty good leg leveler. So that's what I did. It was an adaptation of something I saw someone else do.